Okay, I'm sorry. I cut off a lot of people in conversation there, and I'm sorry about that. But that and in one way, that's a good thing that people are talking, and I'm just not realizing that everything behind me is backwards. So that's kind of cool. I'm gonna bring all of our table captains up on stage now. So you should get an invitation to come on stage and just uh, can join me and kind of summarize what you talked about just a moment ago. Should we get everybody here? And I do realize that some of the beginning of that we were probably spending uh, helping people see and hear and everything, and kind of working out some kinks. So and we did consolidate some tables. We noticed that Christian didn't have anybody at his table, so he has joined another table. Um, and do I have everybody that's a table captain here?
We're yeah, we had 7 tables.
Okay, so I'll just kind of go in order of how I see people on my screen real quick. We were talking about the Fowler corridor and whether or not it like reflects an innovation district. So I'm going to start with Sherry Donahue, the Vice Mayor of Temple Terrace. Sherry, what sort of things did you talk about at your table?
Well, sadly, we agreed completely with what the survey said, and recognized that one of the benefits of being active with the Innovation Alliance is that a road that we have all traveled over and over and over again and just see it as from point A to point B. Now the awareness, it has been brought to our attention of, we have been made aware of empty lots, vacant properties, and because of that, it is just a something to get past. Okay, so one of the two things that really stuck out was that because we're aware of this, and because we see all of this, that there's great potential in this space, and that was mentioned early on in the discussion. That with lots of small businesses, yes, vacancies are there, but if we can start to let people know how many people come through that corridor, and encourage people to take a chance, come out and do business with us. And then of course it's more than just cheerleading, but there's lots of opportunity here. We're seeing a lot of it already with the out parcel development in front of the mall. That's new. And so how do we start that dialogue? And then we said, okay, well, if we're going to have that dialogue, what do you say? What do we do that connects them and stops them from being just something in between, and makes you realize, oh, I've come into an area. I've now crossed the bridge. I'm in, we've all had that happen to us. You're driving along and all of a sudden you cross into a town and you're like, oh, I'm in, Podunkville, USA, whatever. But you recognize that you're someplace. So how do we create that identity? Is it materials? Is it a color? Is it, I know this sounds silly, but is it every building has some icon that says, you're part of this now, this area. So those were the challenges that we came up, but the conversation was very hopeful, meaning a lot more discussion is on the way. So thank you for hearing us out.
Thanks, Sherry. Eric, what did you hear?
I was blessed to have Mickey Jacobs and Rebecca Hessinger at my table. They pointed out that some of the design flaws of Fowler, that we've made basically a lot of mistakes. I think it's doubtful that Fowler would be the interstate highway, quote unquote, that it is today if it were not for USF. USF really changed the landscape, and it's doubtful that we would have seen the medical complex, 16 or 17 different institutions grow up around USF had it not been that USF was established in 1956. So that has been one of the main contributing factors to as Mickey said, the behavior, the environment has determined our behavior. And the environment is get point A, point B, get off at 275 because I'm going to class. And so it's zip down this road as fast as I can. And we're not really interested in any of the stores along the way. They primarily serve the existing neighborhoods that are on the back side of both of these. So creating or changing that, as Rebecca said, to make it safe for an 8-year-old or an 80-year-old, needs to be a priority as our views in society have changed, and just the need for exercise and making people them out of their cars would help. So I think we kind of tactically agreed on a lot of the findings of the survey as well. I wish I could invite them up. They could have said it so much better than I did, but really appreciate having them at my table, and you as well, Eddie. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Eric. I tried to pop around to as many of the tables as I could. I didn't make it everywhere, but let's go ahead and go down to Jerry Irvin, the Chief Development Officer for UACDC. Jerry,
Yes.
what kind of conversation did you have?
Well, our table, again, agreed with the survey as well that it does not look like a corridor for innovation. And one of the things that was brought up was, in order for the innovation district to be more of an innovation district, is to make sure that we have diversity and inclusion in the process of developing what the Uptown District and the corridor will look like. From my understanding, currently there are no African-American developers who are involved in the process right now. And they haven't been involved in many of the major projects that are taking place in the Uptown District, including VA as well as USF. And in order for the Innovation District to be an innovative district that's inclusive of all people, that we need to make sure that we're including those who have historically been in the Tampa area, that there are 5 developers within the real estate brokers within the Tampa area who haven't really been invited to have a seat at the table or in the decision-making process as well. It was also noted that the corridor has changed over the years. There have been some improvements, but many more improvements need to take place as well to make sure that we're being equitable in developing the Uptown and the Fowler corridor.
Thank you, Jerry. That is really good to know, and I would like to connect with you afterward to get some information about if you identified there are some individuals that should be reached out to. So let's talk about that later.
Lovely.
All right. And
real quick, do we have a list of Black-owned businesses in the area up here? I mean, I know Vistra Communications is one of the largest. I mean, I was just curious.
Well, we currently, on this call right now, we have Mr. Sam Harris on the line, who is one of the developers and CEO of, I believe, Blue Development. And he's very interested in being involved and getting the district plugged in as well, Mr. Sam Harris. So we would love to make sure that we're connecting with him.
Okay.
all right, and thanks for coming, Sam. Miranda is the president of the Uptown Chamber of Commerce. And Miranda, can you summarize what you talked about?
Absolutely. Our table also agreed with the survey. And just to piggyback what Jerry said, there was a lot of talk about collaborating with the community and inviting the community, the people who live there, to have a voice at the table. I think that would be, really important, because the community can be part of the solution. And when you have the buy-in from the community, that helps the whole project become a success. We talked about how the Fowler corridor was the entrance to the, world-class university, and it doesn't appear that way. So yes, again, the survey results our table agreed with. They said that the look doesn't grab you, first impression, especially Fowler in Nebraska, the intersection there with the old retail or extinct retail strip mall look. Some quick solutions. Again, this is going to be a long process, and we are aware of the building and the look, but some landscaping, adding attractive features, community artwork, again, engaging the community to be a part of that. I know we've talked about that at some of our IT meetings in the past. It was also brought up maybe more flyovers to see how safety could be a factor there as far as pedestrian safety, vehicle safety. But the biggest part was the collaborating with the community and more discussions with them. And I also want to say happy birthday, Jerry.
Happy birthday, Jerry.
Thank you.
Okay, Roland John Charles. Roland is a realtor, property manager, and owner of MPI JCM Realty Group. Roland, could you summarize your conversation?
Absolutely. So at our table, we had Jonah and Marianne. Unfortunately, Marianne's video and audio wasn't working properly, so we really didn't get a chance to get her input. However, what we talked about was we agreed basically with what we saw in the charts, right? So the results of the survey, we all kind of on the same page as that. I'd like to echo some of what Sherry says and also some of what Miranda said. We definitely need to improve the signage so that people know when they're entering Uptown and when they're leaving Uptown, right? So maybe we'll have a pillar or something at the key entry points entering the Uptown Innovation District, right? So maybe off 75 and also off 275, we can have some type of pillar. We also need to make sure that at all of those entry points as well, the landscaping is sufficient, right? So that it looks nice, and maybe we can also have some artwork and other things that people know where they're coming into. I mean, you have Busch Gardens that's right there on Busch, right? And so we need to make sure that at each of these entry points that it's inviting, it's welcoming, and that people know that they're going from one area of Tampa to another. Another thing that was discussed is maybe some uniformity in terms of zoning and things that can happen at the county level. Some part of the innovation district is incorporated, part of it is unincorporated. And we need some consistency with the zoning and what businesses can and can't do to make sure that we're protecting just like an HOA protects the value of its community by keeping things uniform, we can protect the innovation district by having some uniformity, whether it's a county or a city zoned area. And so those are the two main things that we talked about.
Well, Roland, it was kind of luck of the draw that we got to you last year, but you provided a perfect segue to the next thing we're going to discuss when you mentioned the uniformity of zoning. Let me go ahead and share this, the next survey question. And again, you can enlarge this on your screen by just clicking in the upper right-hand corner. So, the next question we had was, to what extent do you agree or disagree Fowler Avenue needs a more cohesive plan for zoning, land use, and appearance in order for my business to thrive or for my property to achieve its best value? And the reason that question was phrased that way is because when we sent the survey out, we really targeted property owners and business owners on that corridor. And as you can see, almost everybody agreed with that statement. One or two people weren't quite sure. Two people weren't quite sure. So we'll go ahead and go back to the tables. And if you can just have another conversation like you just did with the people at your table, just about that topic. In particular, what sort of land use and regulations would people like to see? What do you think would be effective? So we'll go back to the table.